In today's video, I share my delicious free ingredient 1 minute protein brownie recipe, and you're gonna love it. Hey, I'm Aleksa, the Climbing Dietitian, sports dietitian, and nutrition coach. Welcome back to one of my videos. Thank you as always for watching. Now, of course, before we deep dive into today's recipe, remember, subscribe, ring the bell. Awesome. So have you ever found yourself craving dessert, but you just don't have enough calories left in the day for it? Or perhaps you just want a healthier version of a recipe, one that's not gonna really blow out your calories so you can enjoy it a bit more often. Well, then I'm sure you're gonna enjoy my simple and easy and protein-packed version of the classic brownie / mudcake. So without further ado, let's get into the kitchen. Okay, so we're in the kitchen now, so I'm gonna first share what the ingredients are. It's very simple ingredients that I'm sure you'll probably even have in your household. You just have to pop to the shops and grab some. So basically you'll need just some chocolate protein powder. Okay, I've tried whey isolate before and it doesn't work as well as something like this, which is more of a blend, like a whey isolate, whey concentrate blend. But also there's been people that have used casein blends as well and it worked out well for them. The next ingredient is applesauce, just your good old normal applesauce, nothing fancy, okay? You just pop to the shops, grab a cheap version of it, and then we're gonna just need some cocoa powder, just to add a bit of that chocolatey flavor to it. Now, most of the sweetness will be coming from obviously the applesauce and your protein powder if it does have some sweeteners in there, which these days they typically do. But if you do want to, there is an optional kind of step. If you want to add your own stevia or alternative sweetener, just get something that's low calorie, okay, 0 calorie sweetener, because you don't want to add extra calories on top of this. It'll defeat the purpose of making it a macro friendly dessert. But yeah, that's more of an optional if you do add like that extra sweetness, or your protein powder just lacks that extra oomph that you're hoping for. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create, I'm going to share exactly how much of each ingredient you're going to need. So with the protein powder, it depends on what you consider a serve. So technically this recipe, when I consider a serve, it's technically just half a scoop of protein powder. Okay, so you just kind of estimate half. But because I tend to have a big appetite, I tend to go for a double serve usually, so I just do 1 scoop. But for the purposes of this, I'll do it as the proper way that I created. So just about half, okay? Half of a scoop of protein, and that's done right there. Then what you want to do is for every half a scoop of protein, okay, so for every half a scoop of protein, you want to go for 1 tablespoon of a unsweetened cocoa powder. Don't need the sweetened stuff. Like I said, if you want to sweeten them more, just use some stevia and you'll be perfectly fine. Okay, so we got that there. And then now applesauce. So this is the key ingredient here, because the amount you put will determine whether it's more of a brownie or more of a mud cake. That's why I went protein brownie / mudcake, because it really depends on what you prefer or what happens when you actually put in the applesauce. So the recipe calls for about 60 grams of the applesauce per half a scoop of protein per tablespoon of cocoa powder. So that's what we're going to create today. But you can obviously adjust it, depending on your preferences. So you might want to play around with it as you go. Okay, it is cooked in the microwave, so there's a lot of kind of control over it that you can kind of put into it. So we'll go first with just making sure that it's the 60 grams and we'll go from there. Okay, so just put it in there. Be extra careful because it can get away from you quickly. So nearly there. There we go, about 49, 57. Let's get just a little bit, and a little bit. When a tiny bit over, does not matter. Okay, does not matter at all. So now what you want to do is you just want to, try and not make a mess like me, but it's going to happen, okay? Cocoa powder just flies everywhere. But you just basically want to mix it. Now, if you notice, so that's the thing where you're going to have to play around with it. If you notice that your protein powder is very absorbent, you may need to put more applesauce. So that's something you're going to have to consider when you're making this. But generally speaking, it's going to be fine. I've had some success with putting a bit of baking powder in there. It doesn't really need it. I find this recipe doesn't really call for it, but you can obviously do that if you want a bit more volume. You're just going to have to be careful with how long you cook it, because I came out with a very cakey, dry texture once when I accidentally overcooked it when I add some baking powder. So that's just something to be careful of, because trust me, these things are delicious, okay? But they're not delicious when they're dry. They're really, really a pain when they're dry. So just want to mix that in nicely. until it's like a consistency like that. Hope you can see that properly. Try to set up the camera as best as I could. Basically, that's about right. Now you can obviously spoon this and taste it. Tastes delicious just as it is. But for the purpose of this, let's put it all into the recipe so to make sure that it's all there. Okay, so that's basically it. That is your mixed up ingredients ready to go. Okay, so now we go to the microwave for the next step. Okay, so now that we've got all our ingredients nicely mixed into a bowl, all we do now is we cook it into the microwave for about 1 minute. Now, if you're unsure about the recipe and if you're first getting started or you have an extra high-powered microwave, you may want to be careful. You may want to do it in increments where you go maybe 45 seconds or 50 seconds first, and then do it 5-second increments from there. That is optional, but generally I find 1 minute works well. That's what I'm going to use here. Let's hope it goes well. Okay, it's finished cooking, and to be honest, looking at it, just doing a bit of a touch test, it looks like we've got the real deal here. Okay, so I'm gonna flip the camera around, show you exactly what we created, and give you some optional extras that can make this an even extra delicious dessert. Okay, now I apologize about the lighting. It is not the greatest, but I'll show you what I mean by good texture. Can you see that? You see how it fluffs up nicely, it's not too stiff, and that is where you wanna go to make it more of that protein brownie. You can obviously play around with this. You can spray over a bit of oil so you can scoop it out and eat it that way. You could obviously, this is a bit on the softer side, so if you wanted it a bit harder, you could do it maybe a couple seconds more, and therefore you can eat it like a normal brownie. Otherwise, if you wanted it to be more of a, this is more of a mud cake, I guess, than the brownie, so that's why you've got to play around with the portions of the applesauce and the timing. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter because you just tuck in, enjoy. It's delicious, it's nutritious, and it's gonna satisfy those cravings for those, those desserts that you typically would want. Now, I did mention there's gonna be some optional extras you can add to this, so let's get into those. So in my opinion, this is delicious just as it is. Okay, when I'm craving like a chocolatey dessert, don't have many macros left or many calories left, or I just don't want like an extra protein hit at the end of the day, or just as a snack, I will enjoy this as it is. But what you can do for an extra delicious twist is at the about 45-second mark, throw in your amount that what you got to allocate it to your macros and all that sort of stuff, your choice of a chocolate chip, okay? And or some peanut butter. Now, if you want to cut back on calories, you can obviously use like a PB2 or a Macro Mike's peanut butter powder and just make a peanut butter out of that and put it there. It's up to you, but normal peanut butter works perfectly. And you just add it at that 45-50-second mark and finish cooking, and it's going to make it a bit more melty, okay? And then when you do this, when you do that thing that I just did, you won't believe how good it looks, and when you taste it, it adds so much extra flavor to this that it's unbelievable. Trust me, you would not know it's a protein healthy version of a dessert. You'd think it's a normal dessert. Trust me, give it a go, see what you think. Okay, so there you go. I've shared my free ingredient, 1 minute protein brownie / mud cake for you, for your enjoyment. Now, all I need you to do now is try it yourself. Okay, grab the ingredients, grab a chocolate protein powder of choice, grab yourself some applesauce, grab yourself some unsweetened cocoa powder, and mix it up in the ingredients list that I mentioned before. Enjoy this creation, and feel free to tag me in, okay? If you share it on Instagram, tag me at the Climbing Dietitian so I can see what you created. And yeah, really do hope you enjoy this dessert. Now, what I want you to tell me is in the comments below, okay? Drop a comment below and tell me, what is your favorite dessert? Okay, just thinking, broadly, what is your favorite dessert that you just can't wait to eat when it's around in the house? Okay, let me know down below so I can see what you guys enjoy. Now, of course, if you have any recipe requests that you want to kind of healthify or whatever you want to call it, make it more protein packed and go from there, send me an email at aleksa@theclimbingdietitian.com.au and I can see what I can do. Okay, there might be a recipe out there that I can create for you, or it can be one that I create myself, see how we go. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, let me know. As always, if this video has been helpful, okay, if you've enjoyed what I've shared with you today, please hit the like button, show it some love, okay, so that this protein brownie can feel love too. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already done so. Stay classy. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.